Have you ever felt like your shadow was watching you? For a little girl named Lily, this feeling wasn't just a fleeting thought, it was her reality. Her story begins not with a scream, but with a quiet friendship, a bond formed with the very darkness that most children fear. This is the story of Lily and the Shadow People, a tale that blurs the terrifying line between a child's imagination and a paranormal nightmare. It all started when Lily was 6, a lonely child with a vibrant imagination. She spent most of her days in her large, old house, where long corridors and dimly lit rooms created the perfect playground for shadows. At first, they were just fleeting shades in the corner of her eye. A flicker of movement by the doorway, a figure that darted away when she turned her head. But Lily wasn't afraid, she was intrigued. She started talking to them, giving them names. There was Slender, who stretched from the floor to the ceiling, and Blob, who huddled in the corners. To her, they weren't monsters, they were her secret friends. Her parents, Mark and Sarah, initially saw this as a harmless phase. They'd hear her giggling in her room, whispering to someone who wasn't there. "She's just playing," Sarah would say, a gentle smile on her face. "She has such a wonderful imagination." They bought her more drawing supplies and Lily's sketchbooks filled with her new friends. But the drawings started to change. At first, they were simple, stick figure-like silhouettes. But soon, they grew more detailed, more unsettling. The figures were tall and gaunt, their limbs unnaturally long. And they all had one thing in common: hollow, empty eyes that seemed to stare right off the page. One evening, Mark went to tuck Lily into bed. He found her sitting on the floor, her back to him, whispering intently. "No, you can't," she said firmly. "That's my daddy." Mark paused in the doorway. "Lily, who are you talking to?" Lily turned, her eyes wide. "Slender," she said. "He doesn't like you." A chill ran down Mark's spine. The air in the room felt heavy, cold. He looked around, but saw nothing but the familiar shadows cast by the moonlight. He dismissed it as just a child's game, but the unease lingered. The incidents became more frequent and more disturbing. Objects in the house would move on their own. A book would fly off a shelf. A door would slam shut with no one near it. One night, Sarah woke up to the sound of scratching from inside Lily's closet. She rushed into the room to find Lily fast asleep, but the scratching sound was undeniable. Trembling, Sarah slowly opened the closet door. The sound stopped. Inside, she found long, deep gouges in the wood, as if a wild animal had been trying to claw its way out. Lily's behavior also changed. The once bright and cheerful girl became withdrawn and sullen. She stopped playing outside, preferring the dark confines of her room. She would often be found staring at a blank wall, her lips moving silently, her eyes fixed on something only she could see. Her drawings became even more terrifying. One depicted her family, but standing behind them were the tall, dark figures, their shadowy hands resting on her parents' shoulders. Underneath, Lily had scrawled a single word: mine. Mark and Sarah were now genuinely terrified. They tried talking to Lily, but she would just get angry, shouting that they were trying to take her friends away. They took her to a child psychologist, who diagnosed her with an overactive imagination and suggested they remove any triggers from her environment. They painted her room a bright yellow, installed brighter lights, and packed away all her dark drawings. For a while, it seemed to work. Lily became a little more like her old self. But the shadows were just waiting. They were patient. One night, a massive power outage plunged the entire neighborhood into darkness. Mark and Sarah fumbled for flashlights, their hearts pounding. The first place they went was Lily's room. The door was ajar. They shone their flashlights inside, and what they saw made their blood run cold. The bright yellow walls were covered, from floor to ceiling, in moving, writhing shadows. They weren't just simple silhouettes anymore. They had form, depth. They twisted and coiled like smoke, their hollow eyes glowing with a faint, malevolent light. And in the center of the room stood Lily, her arms outstretched, a strange, ecstatic smile on her face. "They're here," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the thumping in her parents' ears. "They've come to take me home." As Mark and Sarah stood frozen in terror, one of the larger shadows detached itself from the wall. It elongated, its form becoming more humanoid, and it reached a long, thin arm towards Lily. Mark screamed and lunged forward, but it was like running through water. An unseen force pushed him back, slamming him against the doorframe. He watched in horror as the shadow's hand gently touched Lily's shoulder. She didn't flinch. She simply turned and walked towards it, her small hand disappearing into the inky blackness. The shadow figure enveloped her, and for a moment, the room was plunged into absolute, suffocating darkness. Then, as suddenly as it began, the power flickered back on. The shadows on the wall were gone. The room was empty, Lily was gone, a frantic search ensued. Police scoured the house, the neighborhood, the entire town. But there was no sign of a break-in, no footprints, no trace of Lily whatsoever. It was as if she had simply vanished into thin air. Her room remained exactly as it was, with one exception. On her bedside table, a new drawing was found. It was a single, dark figure, tall and slender, holding the hand of a small girl. They were walking away into a background of pure black. Mark and Sarah never recovered. They sold the house and moved away, trying to escape the memories, but the image of their daughter being consumed by a living shadow haunted their every waking moment. The house remained empty for years, a dark stain on the neighborhood, with locals whispering stories of a little girl who played with shadows and paid the ultimate price. Some paranormal investigators who later visited the house reported extreme cold spots, disembodied whispers, and the overwhelming feeling of being watched by countless unseen eyes. They claimed to capture EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, of a little girl's voice saying, "They're my friends," and a deeper, rasping voice whispering, "Mine." Lily's story serves as a chilling reminder. A reminder that some doors are best left unopened, and that the line between a child's imagination and a far more sinister reality can sometimes be terrifyingly thin. We teach our children not to be afraid of the dark, but maybe, just maybe, there are some things in the dark that we should be afraid of. The next time you see a shadow flicker in the corner of your eye, ask yourself, is it just a trick of the light? Or is something looking back? Thank you for watching. If this story sent a chill down your spine, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the shadows. Stay safe and check your corners.